Okay, part three, how not to drive. We're talking about freeways. We just finished talking about the passing lane, when to be fast and slow, when to get over, when to not, how a highway differs from a freeway. Now I want to talk about getting on and off a freeway. Now, in Las Vegas, as is probably true around the country, there are basically two kinds of off ramps and on ramps. And the one of them is where you have this lane that is specifically used to get on a freeway and to get off. It is not a regular lane. It doesn't continue. If you get on the freeway, if you stay on that lane, it becomes the exit lane to the next road. And then there's the kind where it merges immediately. You get on the freeway, you immediately have to merge with the slow lane, the first lane of the freeway. And if you stay on that merged lane, you can either go straight or get off the freeway at the next exit. Now, those are two distinctly different things in terms of how you get on and how you get off freeway, and what you don't do when people are trying to get on or trying to get off the freeway. Now, in California, where I used to live, the law is different than it is in Nevada, where I currently live. And the difference is absolutely mind-numbingly amazing when it comes to merging on a freeway. Because California freeways were not built with any aforethought, most, if not all of the relatively older freeways have an immediate merge. They do not have a special lane just to get on and off the freeway. Everything's a merge. And as a result, the law in California, the burden is on the guy in the slow lane. The burden is on the guy who is getting on the freeway, or the guy who's already on the freeway. I should put it that way. So the problem occurs when some guy who's coming up in the slow lane doesn't let the guy merging get on the freeway. So we're talking about this down here. Okay, so here you have a guy getting on the freeway, the on-ramp, as we call it, and the guy who's already on the freeway in the slow lane. Now, in California, the burden is on this guy right here. He either has to speed up or slow down so that this guy can go and drive, or he has to change lanes that way. Okay? He has to be aware of oncoming traffic. Okay? He has to yield. Because of why? This guy has nowhere to go. Now, what do I mean by that? These guys are trying to get up to speed, 65 miles an hour. Okay? There are some short on-ramps in California where you're starting from a dead stop and you're having to get to 65 miles an hour by the time you get to here. Why? Because everyone else is going 65 miles an hour. If you're not, you're causing problems. Okay? Don't be that guy. Don't get on a freeway at 40 miles an hour. Don't be on the on-ramp driving like an idiot and thinking you're going to go up to 65 miles an hour within a few feet. Not going to happen. You need to be moving your butt by the time you get to that freeway. Now, how many times have you gotten on an on-ramp behind somebody who's like, this guy cannot possibly merge with traffic at 65 miles an hour. He's going to cause some problems. Don't be that guy. But if he is going 65 miles an hour, or whether he is or isn't, is not really the point here. This is a different point. And that is, this guy has to watch out for this guy. This guy's already on the freeway and chose to be in the slow lane because he's just a slow driver. Cannot be driving at a speed where you're going to meet at the same place at the same time. You have to change. But guess what, folks? In Nevada, the burden is on this guy. Huh? What? Why? Now, I had that problem even on the version where you have the exit lane and the entrance lane, and it's not the slow lane of the freeway. And the burden is still is meant for that kind of a freeway. And you can almost make some sense out of that one, where the burden is on the guy getting on the freeway. But in the merge style, how in God's name could the burden be on this guy? He has to get up to speed or he's causing traffic problems. And by doing so, he has to have a place to go. How is the burden on him? Well, I don't care what the Nevada law is. If this guy's being a douche, he's being a douche. There's no getting around it. If he knows the burden's on the guy coming on, he has to slow down or speed up, and he doesn't care, it's still his fault. I don't care. If this guy chooses to slow down because this guy won't let him on the freeway, and now he's taking no time to speed up to 65, got no space to do it, let's say he slows down to 40 miles an hour so this guy can zoom ahead, and now he gets on the freeway, guess what? The guy behind him now has to slow down. And maybe the guy behind him, and the guy behind him, while this guy takes his time to speed up to 65 miles an hour. Now, he wanted to go 65 miles, but this guy wouldn't let him. How is that his fault? Don't be that guy. And all over Nevada, all over Las Vegas, and probably in other states too, and cities too, there are people who are in the slow lane who play this game, because sometimes you just know they're doing it on purpose. They play this game, mess with the on-rampers, mess with the mergers. Let's see if I can make them speed up or slow down to get on the freeway, and I'm going to make it difficult for them. Don't be that jerkweed, okay? Just don't be that guy. Then you have this condition. You have the entrance-exit lane. Maybe there's about a mile apart from them, probably actually a little less because the on-ramp is before the street and the exit ramp is before the street. So maybe there's a half a mile between them. The idea is that this guy gets on, he gets to speed, and then he merges over. That's great. But what if there's a whole lot of cars in the slow lane and no room for a car to get on? This guy can play the same game as this guy. He can play the game where he Siameses this guy and keeps him from being able to get on this freeway. So he either has to speed up more than 65 miles an hour, near the slow lane, or he has to slow down. If he slows down, he causes problems for people behind him. He slows down, he causes people behind this guy, and it's a mess. If he speeds up, he's probably better off. And that's where I get to another point about speeding. Speeding beyond the speed limit, if necessary, is often preferred to slowing down, and here's one reason why that would be the case. And to finish that point, you're supposed to speed up when you change lanes, folks. I got a news flash for any of the idiots who like to put on their brakes and then sneak in behind somebody in order to change lanes. If you're that guy, you're public enemy number one. When this guy right here slows down to get behind this guy, guess what? Everybody behind him has to slow down, wait for him to change lanes. The guy behind this guy has to slow down to let you get in front of him. However, if you speed up and get in front of somebody, he doesn't have to slow down. He doesn't have to slow down. The guy behind you didn't have to slow down. Nobody has to slow down. There is no issue with the traffic. there are not a bunch of taillights suddenly shining, and it all is good in the world. Okay? I cannot tell you how often I see people slowing down to change lanes because they're thinking that's safer. It's not safer. It's stupid. If you can speed up to change lanes, do it. That actually is not necessarily a law, but it is how you're trained to drive. Well, that doesn't make any sense. What if you're already going the speed limit? They want you to speed up to change lanes? Yes! Because it's the speed limit is a suggestion. The conditions call for you to go faster to avoid messing with everybody. If you change lanes and it causes somebody to slow down, in fact, if you do anything on a freeway that causes people to slow down, you're the problem. Never cause someone to have to change what they're doing because of you. I'm not just talking about cutting people off. Just normal, regular, everyday driving. If you do something that makes someone else have to change what they're doing, their speed, the lane they're in, whatever, then you screwed up. Unless there's an emergency or there's some, there's just no room and people are not letting you in and all this other stuff. But I'm talking normal, everyday driving, traffic, whatever. No one's being a douchebag, maybe except you. There is no reason to ever cause someone to slow down. You get into the passing lane and the person behind you who was going at 80 miles an hour, and you get in front of that person and you're going 75 miles an hour, and this guy going 80 miles an hour has to slow down, piss on you. That's just bad driving. Period. So back to the on and off lane here. Here's where I had a big problem with the Nevada law, and when I made a phone call to the DMV to find out what the hell the law was, I was blown away. What happens if this is a semi-truck, an 18-wheeler? And these guys, they'll go any speed, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of rules about dealing with trucks and how far behind, and they make wide turns, and everything's geared towards helping these guys out. And there's partly a good reason for that. That is, they have the least amount of ability to maneuver or speed up or slow down. It's like trying to turn a steamship on the water. They don't just turn on a dime. They got to make wide, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you get that. There's certain common sense things with regard to law, big trucks. But big trucks and the truckers who drive them often take advantage of the fact they're in a big truck. Again, we're humans, not machines, and no one acts the same all the time. There are some good truckers and there are bad truckers. To loop every trucker as a good trucker and everyone else is just an ass, as they like to think in their particular little world, is just dumb thinking. It's not logical. It's not the way humans work. It just ain't the case. There are bad truck drivers, and they are even more of a problem than bad drivers sometimes, because now they have a 10,000-pound vehicle steaming down the highway. Now imagine you're this guy trying to get on the freeway, and a semi-truck decides to Siamese twin you as you're moving side by side onto the freeway here. He's in the slow lane going whatever speed, doesn't matter. You're in this car and you've got 60 feet of truck right beside you. There's a car right behind him and there's a car right in front of him. And no space. You could slow down and try to make this car slow down for you. You could speed up and hopefully jam your butt in between a big truck and a car. But this happened to me. Happens to me all the time, in fact. Now, if this is long enough, somewhere in here there's a gap. And I'm usually speeding up to find that gap, not slowing down. Same reason as before. But I've even had taxi drivers, and they are horrible in Vegas, by the way. They break every rule under the sun. Come up and try to keep me from getting into the freeway, even with a half a mile here. They will purposely Siamese twin you as you're moving, trying to get on the freeway. And I honked at him, and I took down his number, and I called his boss, and he said, "That's the rules of the road. Sorry, pal. It's not the taxi driver, it's you." So I called the DMV. They said the burden was on me, not on him. I said, let me get this right. He's blocking me from getting on the freeway. I have to either speed up or slow down to get around him, but he has the right of way? Yes. Dumbest thing I ever heard. The guy already on the freeway has the right of way. Imagine the chaos that can be caused just by giving the right of way to the guy who has all the room in the world. He can move over, he can speed up, he can slow down. But the guy getting on a freeway has only one thing he can do. He can merge, or he's forced off the freeway, forced on the shoulder, forced to speed up big time, forced to slow down big time. He has to do everything difficult. But the guy who's already on the freeway, who can do anything he wants easy, has the right of way. Dumb law. It's not the way it is in California. I'm not saying California laws are perfect. Just saying there's a difference. Sometimes you have to be aware of the difference. And that's a big part of it. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the right of way and how that is misunderstood and abused like you would not believe. Maybe you would. See you then.